is Talking to My Thoughts.
Today's topic is quite a sensitive topic actually, and one that I wanted to bring the right kind of people to have the conversation with about it. So today's topic is how men can protect women. Before we kind of get into the topic as to the specifics and why we chose it at this point in time, I would like to ask, what does it mean to each one of you lot first, for when you hear men protecting women? What do you think it means? I guess, Simon, you can start from there.
Oof, you throw me in at the deep end, boy. Oh my days. Like, there's so much to say about this, and to try and simplify it is so difficult. But when I hear protection, I'm thinking about, I don't know, the first thing, I'll try and break it down later on, but I guess the first thing that I think in my mind is entitlement. Yeah, I will see how we break that down, but I think that's the first thing that kind of comes to mind, is about entitlement.
Okay. What about you, Ryan?
That's an interesting one. Entitled one through me, so you're gonna have to break that down for me properly. I don't know. When people say protect, I feel like people just feel like guarding, and I don't feel like that is what it is. I feel like mental state as well is a big thing. Protecting our women mentally, for me, is a big thing.
Okay. Denzil?
I'd say listen. I don't feel like you can protect anyone if you're not listening, and you're not paying attention to what they're saying. Sometimes it's between the lines, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's actually just listening. So, yeah, that's me. We'll go into it a bit later.
For me, was actually, the word was royalty. And I like that because I remember reading it in a book where they said, if your best friend was royalty, like a king or a queen, how would you treat them differently? And then it was converted into, well, let's say that you are that friend, you are that person who is royalty, and you treat them that way. So when I then think about women, I'd think, well, if we simply just saw them as queens, and ourselves as kings, there'll be so many things that we'll do differently, or see differently, or say differently as well. So royalty is my key word in that part. So let's kick off this topic and get a little bit deeper. The reason why this topic was particularly chosen was due to the recent incidents around the two women within the last year. One of them was Sarah Everard, 33-year-old white woman who was found, she was kidnapped and murdered and found in South London from just taking a jog, and that's during the lockdown phase of COVID. And then the year before that was actually Blessing, who was also, her body was found in East Sussex in September last year, she was 21 years old. So why these topics have been picked up is because in particular, social media has kind of blown up over these things. Once again, social media has taken a stance of it really being a really powerful place to express. Need it be good or bad, expression is just required in general. And in particular, what was happened is when stuff like this of women being unsafe occurs, everybody's like, what could women have done to make themselves safer? It needed be a better way to alert people, telling your friends where you are, staying indoors, dressing properly, to the point where there's so many, the list is so long, it might as well just say, just don't be a woman at this point.
Yeah.
So I thought, and both me and Simon thought it was just a great time for us to pick a topic where we would say, how can men change the narrative? Especially in the case where these two women were basically assaulted, most likely by the opposite sex. It's unconfirmed on the first one, but most likely that case. And again, nighttime is most cases that women are more scared of men, and more incidents are happening with men as well. So let's not really kind of shade it away. It is men that cause most rapes and sexual assault. How can men change the narrative? Because women have been doing and continuously change so many of themselves to make themselves safer. I wanted us to pick up this topic to figure out how do we change this on a men's stance, because if you just change the origin, then you ain't gonna have to deal with the problem in the future. So we'll kind of get into that. That's where we'll head in for all the guests to understand and for all the audience to know as well. And we'll kick off the usual way we usually kick off with a voice note, a voice recording, which is done. I'll do mine first, and then we'll go from there.
So just hope you don't mind me just jumping in real quick. I wanted to put a question to everyone on this panel right now. Why do you think society tells women to make all these changes as opposed to going directly to the source of the problem? Like, why is it always, make sure you pretend to be on the phone, make sure you walk in a well-lit road, and the countless other protective situations that they have to perform so that just in order for them to feel safe. Why is it? Why are they not targeting? Why is there no targeting men? Like,
I can answer that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because for one, a lot of what we decide to do in society is actually dictated by men in the first place. And the second thing is, it's the easy route. If there's a problem, you don't want to look within yourself. You think, okay, the problem is exterior. How do we tackle the problem exteriorly rather than internally? So I think that's where the solution needs to come from, is where we need to start looking within ourselves rather than pointing the finger. It's a blame game, innit? If there's a problem with women, we say, well, women are the solution. They've got the problem. They need to fix it. They need to handle it. And I think that's where I kind of have a little bit of an issue with, not even an issue, but a bit of a disagreement in terms of the topic that we're talking about, where we say protecting our women, because it seems like it's not, I don't want to stumble on my words, but it's like, for me, the best offense isn't the best defense is a good offense. It's about attacking the problem, not just protecting someone from the issue. It's not about, well, women have a problem, let's protect them from that. I don't agree that we should be necessarily protecting our women, because we need to be attacking what we're protecting them from in the first place, which is us. So rather than saying, let's just protect them from men, how about we attack the men that's giving us the problem in the first place, or giving them the problem?
But then the question is, how do you attack the men that are doing it? Like,
right.
Let's be real. Right. If we really wanted to dive into that, there's no way. I think the easiest answer to say, the answer I would say to that is, how do you expect to change the world if you don't change yourself? For you to see a change in other people, for you to see a change in other men, as you said, you need the accountability. You need to be responsible for the actions that you're upholding. Because if you're willing to say to this guy, don't do that to that woman, but you're doing the same thing, you're not any better than he is. So if we all take a responsibility and accountability to say, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to make a difference. And if everybody does that, then we will all make that change together. So that's my answer.
For what Ryan said, how would you go about attacking men? So this is when it will just get really messy, because
this is what I'm saying.
Again, especially in this social culture, we're in a culture of cancel this, cancel that, and I'm like, wow, everything's just getting cancelled. So if you're just not on the right side of the cancellation, then if you're not doing the cancelling, you're being cancelled, basically. And attack is, I think, what we're not really realizing. What you said, Simon, is correct. Pointing the finger is way easier. But what we're not realizing, it is actually psychologically rooted in majority of men. That's how bad it is right now. It is psychologically rooted into men as to how they treat women. To the point where men who maybe started in school of objectifying women as hormones kicked in, who then go into rape and murder, is a dramatically different, is a deep-rooted issue, to the point where they don't even see the problem. To the point where if they had to be looked at their actions and they say, like, they objectify a woman, they will almost be like, well, obviously, that's my role. That's how deep rooted it is. So when we think about attack, I think the real thing is education. Educating a person on what they are unaware of, and then when they are aware, then they now have a choice to control it. And it's weird because on the other side of this, some people are listening thinking, how are men not aware? Like, it's obvious. I'm like, you would be surprised how our psychology and our mental works to the point where you'll be like completely unaware of certain things that happen. They said, wait, right and wrong is black and white, but it's not black and white, is it? Because there's a lot of things that happens on social media. It's not black and white. How people perceive themselves on social media is not black and white. There's a lot of things that are not black and white anymore. And the part about that, what I mentioned in my voice note was about the social context is, if you was brought up in a certain environment, all you know is that way to talk and see other women in a sense. And that is almost, it's like ignorance is bliss. It's like, well, the men never thought about looking on the other side of things. The men never. So yeah, I would say how we go about attack is not the right word, because I don't like the whole thing of attack, but education is required for us to bring awareness first, because I personally have never seen a campaign run by men talking about how they should treat women better. Like an actual campaign where you can say, you will know, okay, I know exactly what social media page to go to or where to go to get education about how I should treat women better. There's never been that. And there's no book about how do you treat women better written by another man that I know of, or that is being taught to us. So one of the things I would definitely like to say is, school doesn't feel very far from where we are as an adult, does it? Like, when we came out from school, we just fell into the real world.
Yeah.
But there was no in-between as to how do you navigate yourself better? Or how does it look like when you're actually free to be as you are? It's not cute. It's not cool in school anymore. When you used to holler, like there's a group of men that used to holler at women before, or they were maybe a bit like they used to grab their hand when they're walking past. That was like, it's just a joke, right? Back then. Yeah. But now, if you was an adult, when did you transition to know that wasn't cool to do that? And that is seen as almost assault today as an adult. If you're over 18, that can be arrested. That's an arrestable offense.
Yeah, but we wasn't educated cool like that.
Exactly. You've touched it already. You've touched on it already. Everything comes down to education and perspective. Like, there's so many things we still don't know. There's so many things that we're just now getting our eyes open to because of things like social media, which is allowing information to be transmitted so quickly. Like the whole thing about the Black Lives Matter movement, like you could speak to a lot of white people who are ignorant on that as well. And it's only now because they're starting to get educated and they're starting to see from our perspective, things are starting to change. And it's the same thing with the situation that we're talking about now. We need to have our eyes open to a lot of issues. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people have to go through so much pain before we start seeing those things change. Like, it has to take something drastic where someone gets killed for us to turn it around and suddenly be like, how do we fix this?
I think the truth is somewhere in between both of what you said. I feel like attack and educate, because I think one without the other will result in the same issue. I think there's far too many people getting away with what they're doing, and we're quick to turn around on the women and say, but like it reminds me of the whole racist BLM movement, where when people speak up about racism, there was always a but what did he say, or what did he do? And that's what they're doing with the whole women, and it's turning it back on them. Before they even get to the courts of prosecution, no one even takes it seriously. It's always but what was she wearing? Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like we need to take it more seriously, and by doing that, I feel like we need to do a bit of both. We need to educate, especially people coming up through the schools, and the youth that are coming up and gonna be our age one day. We need to educate in that sense, but also the people who are already out of school, the people who are already on the streets, the people who are already actively committing these crimes day in, day out, because you will find with these kind of crimes, they're very repeatable. Like, there's hardly any girl that will tell you, it was only me. Like, the guy she may talk to other women and it's like, yeah, he's known for this, he's done this. So they repeat offenses. So we need to attack the situation when it comes to the justice system and all that and kind of stuff to say we don't stand for it. But also we do need to educate the youth coming through as well. I feel like it's...
You know what, I feel like a lot of guys now, the reason why a lot of guys are having a hard time dealing with this because they know this is going to involve a lot of their male friends. And we are not ready for that kind of conversation. I don't feel like a lot of men are ready for that kind of conversation when it comes to how to protect women, because I see comments and guys are like, but what do you mean? Like, same thing what Denzil said, what was she wearing? Like, she probably asked for it. And it's like, how do you ask for that? How do you ask for a man to touch you because your skirt is probably an inch above your kneecap? Please enlighten me where it says touch me. Like, you shouldn't have to feel a way about wearing an item of clothing. Like you shouldn't have to, especially in this day and age. I don't feel like it is a problem. It's everywhere. Social media shows it, and then we see it. So what is the issue with it?
That's why I guess I can elaborate on my word that I brought up about entitlement. It wasn't necessarily about saying we are entitled to do those things. It's that we're not, but we think we are. And that's why that word clicked in my head. It's like we seem to think we're entitled to do those things when we're not. Like, as you said, just because a woman's wearing a certain thing doesn't give you the right to do anything with them. And I think, again, the easiest thing that we can, when I said attack, when we talk about education can be the attack. Education can be the attack. It doesn't necessarily mean attack as in anything physical. An attack can be we're attacking people with this education. They need to know this knowledge. They need to understand what we're saying to them. And we're going to go forcefully to make sure they're educated on what is going on. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I was saying attack and education. That's the kind of level I was coming from. But I think it doesn't help. We are not helping ourselves because we need to open our eyes to a lot of things. The problem that we have, to be fair, there's so many problems. There's so many different elements and aspects to what we can say contributed to our mentality. I'm not even going to say certain men because I'm sure at one point or another, we've all felt a sense of entitlement with women. So I will take responsibility for that as well. It doesn't help when, I don't know, man them began to the strip club every weekend and then thinking, raw, if I see a woman outside who's dressed like a stripper, I can start throwing money at them and touching them up the same way. Like, it's not even that. So I think those things and the kind of the circles that we're around and the things that we consume, whether it's through social media, whether it's through like the particular women that we interact with, think, well, if this woman is one way, that means all women are that way. Like, and it's not even a disrespect to that particular woman. One woman might be quite promiscuous and they might be quite flirtatious or whatever. But just because you think, okay, you've got an entitlement to touch her or whatever, and she allows you to do that and she's given you permission to do that, I'm not, whatever reason, I don't know the woman, but just because one person does it, what makes you think that all of the women can do that? You can do that. No, that's not how it works. Yeah, everyone's their own individual. So that's where the education needs to come into play. Stop thinking that you can do what you want, when you want, how you want, just because you're a man. One woman's allowed you to do it, therefore you can do it to everybody. Because if someone did that to you, you would have a problem with it.
You know, I love 100%. I love the fact that you said before we can tackle this problem, we need to look within ourselves, and that obviously goes back to accountability. But it's so true, because even when you're talking about, and this kind of is in my voice now, actually, even when you're talking about listening to how your friends talk or certain man when they say certain things in jest and all these kind of things, we can't have that conversation unless you acknowledge that I've been entitled at some point. I've been entitled. I've had these moments, and now I have to pattern myself to not think like that no more.
It's easy for you to say, you know what, I ain't even moving with him because he's like this, but that ain't changing him.
97% of women have all suffered sexual harassment.
The privilege that we have, that we don't care mentality where we can wave it off, that has to stop.